In 1946, two legendary artists began collaboration on a short film. More than half a century later, their creation has finally been completed. Salvador Dalí and Walter Disney. The line of the horizon. At the very bottom, a bunch of rocky mountains. A woman with long black hair approaches. The Greek god Cronus, the personification of time represented by a human figure lying on a round clock, is sculpted on a stone pyramid-shaped structure. On his chest, a sparrow is sculpted. The woman observes the statue and closes her eyes. It's night sprinkled with stars. Her naked bust rises behind the structure. She takes it in her hands and puts it in her heart. The woman dances next to a round clock, the hands of which melt. She turns away from the spilt wax of the clock and she approaches a man's face. Their lips meet. The moon rises among the clouds. The man's face melts to a mannequin and becomes a number of butterflies. The woman looks away and goes up a circular ramp surrounding a tall cylindrical structure. On the way upwards, she dances, while awkward static figures which are drinking, dancing and playing instruments accompany her on her way towards the top. When she reaches the top, her chiffon dress hooks onto the index figure of one of the green models with big eyeballs at the very top of the column. The woman loses her dress and naked takes shelter inside a shell, which falls down towards a cloth basket filled with green eyeballs. Before falling to the floor, she jumps into an avenue of plenty of big black phones. She springs joyfully from one receiver to another. She opens her eyes again and looks towards the floor. She notices the shadow of a big bell tower with a huge bell at the top. She approaches the shadow, stretches her arms and her body takes the shape of the bell. She kneels before the shadow and makes a dress out of the shadow of the bell. She stands up and dances in the air. A small stone falls down from the pyramid-shaped structure and dissolves into the sand. The woman continues dancing and her head becomes a dandelion, while several stamens, released from the flower, dance in the air like ballerinas. The bird, sculpted on Cronus's chest, comes alive. The sky grows dark. The spherical clock on the pyramid-like structure lights itself, and the statue of the god Cronus releases himself from the whole stone structure. The bird, which had flown away from his heart, starts the hands of Cronus's watch by pecking it. Ants crawl out of the cracked hands of Cronus and become Frenchmen wearing bread-shaped hats and riding bicycles. One of the dancing stamens approaches him in the air, briefly lands on his hand before floating away in a dance. It lands on the ground and transforms itself into the woman who stares at him. Their eyes meet across the desert. She runs towards him, but a great stone wall rises out of the sand. A city of ruins emerges. He runs towards her, but one of the walls blocks his path. Her long black hair covers her shoulders like a scarf, and she grows increasingly old between two columns, which give way to an arch. The woman dances around, and a bunch of swallows emerge from her, flying over the wall towards him. The swallows dance around Cronus and guide him towards another arch, behind which the woman appears. Over the arch, different layers of images overlap like a collage, transforming the gate into a Greek god's face. Cronus crosses the gate as a baseball player and observes before him a white marble sphere in the middle of the desert. Two big turtles with deformed faces, sculpted from cloth on their backs, collide and form a ballerina who plays with her marble-shaped head. Cronus hits a ball far away. The ball travels throughout a tunnel filled with phone silhouettes until it is caught by a baseball glove in the middle of a Roman bath. The baseball glove metamorphoses into a white sheet from which the figure of Cronus is born. He embraces the sheet and brings it into his heart, while the sheet transforms itself into the figure of a woman. Back to the desert, to the stone pyramid-like structure. Behind the hole made by the sparrow on Cronus's heart is a bell tower with a bell on top, and from which different dandelion stamens are spread into the wind. On the sand, with Dali-like calligraphy, Destino. Credits with original illustrations of the short film. Directed by Dominique Monfery. Produced by Roy Edward Disney and Baker Bloodworth. Original story by Salvador Dalí and Jon Hench, with production design by Thierry Fournier. Music by Armando Dominiquez and Roy Gilbert. Interpreted by Dora Lutz. Audio description written by Albert Bellés and narrated by Zoe Moores.